All right, today we're diving into a really critical medical condition. It's a spinal emergency, a rare one, but one where every single second is crucial. You know, a delay here can lead to absolutely devastating lifelong problems. So let's get right into it.
So let me start with a question for you. What if I told you there was a medical emergency, one known for having catastrophic consequences, but get this, doctors couldn't even agree on what it actually is? How do you fight a fire when everyone has a different idea of where the fire is? It's a huge problem.
Well, the condition we're talking about is called Cauda equina syndrome, or CES for short. And it all comes down to a bundle of nerves at the very base of your spine.
The name itself is pretty interesting. Cauda equina is actually Latin for horse's tail, and that's because this bundle of nerves at the bottom of the spinal cord kind of looks like one. Now, these aren't just any nerves. They're the ones in charge of some really important stuff: your bladder, your bowel, your sexual function. So when they get compressed, it's like putting a massive kink in a garden hose. Those vital signals just stop getting through.
And this image right here shows you the most common culprit perfectly. What we're looking at are two MRI scans of a huge disc herniation. The image on the left, that side view, you can see the disc just bulging out. But it's the view on the right, the top-down one, that really tells the story. See that big dark mass? That's the disc, and it's literally squeezing the life out of that horse's tail of nerves in the spinal canal.
So this brings us to the core problem, the big issue that the research highlights. For a condition this serious, with such a clear physical cause, you would think the diagnosis would be crystal clear, right? Well, it's not. Not even close.
You're not going to believe this. When researchers went through all the medical studies, they found 17, that's 17, different definitions being used for Cauda equina syndrome. Just think about that. 17 different ways to define the same emergency. That's not just confusing, it's incredibly dangerous.
And this isn't just some academic debate over words. The researchers put it perfectly. This kind of vague language makes meaningful analysis difficult, if not impossible. I mean, if one hospital defines the emergency one way, and another hospital defines it a totally different way, how can you ever compare the results? How do you figure out what actually works? You can't. It's a huge barrier to making any real progress.
So what does all this confusion actually lead to? Well, the consequences are very real. It causes delays in getting a diagnosis. It creates confusion over how and when to treat someone. It makes it really hard for doctors to even talk to each other about the same case. And, down the line, it causes massive headaches in legal reviews. But at the end of the day, the person who pays the highest price for all this confusion is always the patient.
Okay, so how do we fix a problem like this? The researchers proposed a really powerful solution, a single, clear framework that stages the condition. It's designed to map out a patient's entire journey, from the very first warning signs all the way to the most severe outcomes.
And here it is. This new framework breaks the syndrome down into 5 distinct stages. It creates a logical pathway, starting with suspected CES, then moving through early, incomplete, retention, and finally complete. This gives every single person involved, from the surgeon to the patient's family, a shared map to follow.
Now, within this 5-stage journey, the researchers pinpointed one moment that is absolutely critical. It's the jump from stage 3, which is CS incomplete, to stage 4, CS with retention. This right here is the fork in the road where a patient's future can change forever.
So what's the big difference? It all comes down to one crucial concept: executive control. In the incomplete stage, a patient is having problems, for sure. Maybe a weird sensation or a weak urine stream, but they can still decide to go to the bathroom. They're still in charge. But once they slip into the retention stage, CSCR, that executive control is gone. Their bladder fills up, often without them even feeling it, and eventually it just overflows. They've lost control.
The researchers say that moving into CSR is like a Rubicon has been crossed. It's a point of no return for getting a full recovery. But, and this is so important, it doesn't mean all hope is lost. There is still further to fall. Surgery at this stage is still an absolute emergency because you have to stop the patient from progressing to the final stage, CS complete, or even more function is permanently wiped out.
So here it is, the entire framework all in one place. This table lays out a clear, practical definition for every single stage, from just suspected all the way to complete. This is it. This is the common language that's been missing. It's a tool that finally allows every doctor and every hospital to be on the exact same page.
So we have this new framework, this new common language. But what does that really mean on the ground?
Why does having this system matter so much for doctors and for the people they're trying to help?
Well, the impact is huge. For one, a clear system like this helps doctors predict how a patient is going to do with much more accuracy. It helps them decide how urgently surgery is needed. We're talking hours versus days. It creates that common language we've been talking about, so everyone is on the same page. And finally, it opens the door for researchers to actually analyze data in a meaningful way, which is how we're going to improve treatments for everyone in the future.
And that leaves us with this final, really important question. For so long, this catastrophic condition has been shrouded in a fog of confusion. But now, with a clear, common language to light the way, the path forward seems so much brighter. So, can this newfound clarity finally be the thing that turns the tide for this devastating spinal emergency? You have to think the answer is yes.